Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our Saturday live question and answer class. At the beginning, I always talk about a topic for American English pronunciation, American accent, or intonation. And today we're going to be talking about the question or the phrase, what happened, and how this changes in pronunciation, stress, and linking, depending on if we're saying saying it by itself, or saying it in a longer phrase. Please feel free to leave your questions in the chat at any time. If you're joining us later, you can leave questions in the comments if you're watching as a replay, and I will turn to your questions after we've talked about the initial topic. Many people will ask questions about the pronunciation of words, of sounds, of things that they're struggling with in fluent speaking in English. Feel free to ask anything in those topics, and I can cover that and also direct you to resources. So at the start, I want to look at this phrase, what happened, and look at how we just say it when we're saying it by itself. So first of all, in the word what, even though we have letter A, we say that it's a schwa sound. It sounds like So I've rewritten that for you here with letter U, just so that you're not trying to say what, but rather what happened. In the phrase what happened, when we're saying it by itself, happened is the stressed word, and the stressed syllable of happened is the first syllable. So I've written that in capital letters here in uppercase so that you can see what happened, that the ha is going to be long, have the clear vowel, and the rest will be very reduced and have reduced vowels. So first of all, we have schwa in the word what anyway, and then in happened, even though it looks like penned, it looks like a lot going on here, we're really just saying one short little vowel, happened, a little bit of a schwa, or almost just no vowel going right from the p to the n and the d sound, happened. To be able to get that rhythm and get those vowel sounds correct, I do suggest starting on that stress syllable. So saying happened, what happened. And then you'll notice that for the T in what, I'm not saying what happened. Because the H is a consonant sound, what happened, I'm using an unreleased T here. So I'll go up to make the T, what happened, and then I'll just release into the H of happened, what happened. Even though it's a question, my intonation is not going to be rising because I have the question word what. If I was asking, did it happen? Then I would rise up on the happen, but because it's a question with a question word, I just fall off like I do for a statement. What happened? So I might rise up a little bit. My pattern might be kind of mid-pitch up and then down. What happened? So that's when we just have that two-word question. When I'm saying what happened to the cat, or what happened to the files, what happened yesterday, when there's more coming after happened is no longer stressed, and I can drop my H sound. So when I'm saying what happened plus something else, I'm not always going to drop that H, but if I do drop the H, what happened, then I'm going to say my T differently. Instead of using an unreleased T, what happened, because I have a consonant sound, I'm moving from the T to a vowel sound, so I'm going to use a flap T instead, and it's going to sound like what happened. If I say that slowly, it sounds strange, doesn't sound correct, but if I say this whole phrase, what happened to the cat, you can hear how it does actually sound normal. Your brain will fill in this H sound of happened and know that it's there. The reason this happens is that in this phrase, the word cat is stretched. So it's long and it has the clear vowel. All of these other words are about the same length as the word cat. What happened to the cat? So in order to be able to say what happened to the quickly and fluently, I have to link and reduce it. What happened to the cat? So the vowel U of to becomes reduced to a schwa, and I'm either going to make this a D, what happened to the, or the way I wrote it here, I'll use an unreleased T, what happened to the, and use an aspirated T in my word too. What happened to the cat? What happened to the cat? If you find that difficult to go that quickly, don't worry. It's not incorrect to say what happened to the cat. You can just hear how in fluent speech, the way native speakers speak fluently and quickly is to link and reduce for the structure part of the sentence, and then to use more of a stretched sound for the stressed content part of the sentence. Happened is still an important word here. If I just said cat, you might get the meaning from just that content word. Of course, we use the full phrase. So quite a clear difference between what happened and what happened to the cat. Happened is much more important here in this first phrase because it's stressed. It gets linked and reduced in the second phrase because the word cat is stressed, and happened is no longer the important or stressed word of the sentence. So I have a lot of videos now and a new playlist about fluent speaking where I talk a lot about these connections, reductions, and linking. I've also been creating quite a few practice videos for you, both short practice videos where we're just working on one phrase and repeating it. So you might, for example, say, what happened to the cat? What happened to the dog? What happened to the shoes? What happened to the date? Etc. to practice getting that fluency and adding it into phrases. And I have a number of videos for that type of practice. I also now have some longer videos that are more of a listen and repeat practice. Some of them are videos and some of them are podcasts, so you can take it on the go. And you can listen to my models of phrases and then repeat. And we're always working on a couple of patterns for fluent speaking, for intonation, for pronunciation, to help you really polish and get some of those more advanced skills. So do check those out on the channel page. Go to our playlists and see which things work best for you and for your style of practice. And of course, you can leave your questions and comments on any of my videos. Give me suggestions for what you'd like to see. But of course, welcome to those of you who are here live this morning. Feel free to put your questions in the chat at any time. I'll turn to those now. They can be about the topic we were just talking about or about any other topic. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're watching this later as a replay, do go ahead and leave your question in a comment and I'll get back to you with an answer. So we have a question about the words cat, cup, cut, and cop. So different vowel sounds and different final sounds here. So for cat, cup, cut, and cop, here are our vowel sounds. So for cat, like we were just talking about, we have the a vowel, like in black cat. Excuse me. For cup, we have the schwa vowel. It sounds like like in such and fun. Same vowel, the stress schwa in cut as well. And then for cop, letter O says the a vowel, which is the most typical pronunciation for letter O in a stress syllable. So cat, I won't respell any different way except for I might write the C as a K, so you know it's the K sound. Using other words that have these same vowels to match can be really helpful in these sort of minimal pair environments. If I have trouble telling the difference between cat and cut, for example, you could write cut with a UH or just the T sound. I would try saying, for example, had a cat and some cuts, or such a cut, so that I can tell. It's not so hard for me to tell the difference between had and some. So then I can match the vowel, had, cat, keeping that a vowel. Front of the tongue is down, back of the tongue is lifted. The vowel, my tongue is just central. It's flat. It's not too high or too low. Some cut, had a cat. Also, same thing for some cup versus for cop. I would write it with an AH, thinking about it like the sound has this vowel, cop. So I would say not a cop, or my father is a cop, being able to match that vowel, visualizing it as A or AH to help you with cop versus cup. So cup having the schwa, the sound. I have a number of videos comparing minimal pairs and different vowels like this, so you might find the playlist for that helpful. It's called Contrasting Words in Minimal Pairs. I've covered these and other words as well. You can also get help for the different vowel sounds of English in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. I'm going to walk you through all of the vowel sounds, how they're spelled, which error patterns to watch out for, and how to pronounce those vowels correctly. That should help you with these types of words. Thank you for that request. That was a good question. Okay, we have a question about the word award. So award is also something where the spelling is a little bit misleading here. So we have two letter A sounds, but we're not saying any A or A or R sounds in award. The first letter A is a schwa sound. It's unstressed, and so it's going to sound like It's going to be very short. Award, award. And then when we have the letters R and W together, words that start with W or have W in the middle, and then AR or OR, we change how we pronounce the R. So rather than AR saying R or air in this word, it actually says the OR sound, like in number 4. So thinking about it like wore. I wrote it this way, like I wore clothes for you, because if I wrote it with W-O-R-D, you might think of word, which has the sound, like were plus D. So again, I have a video talking about when we have W and R's together, how that changes the pronunciation. Thinking about it like ward, award should help you with that particular word. Yeah, another tricky one. Thank you for that request. Okay. We have a question about how to pronounce end of the article. So the end of the article. So for this phrase, the word the, which I typically would pronounce as the, is going to actually be pronounced as the, which we can think of with 2 E's. It has the tense E sound, because for both article and end, those words begin with a vowel sound. So when we use the for most of the time when we have this word, for example, if I said the day, the night, the start, if my next word starts with a consonant, then I use the schwa. I only use the E when the next word starts with a vowel sound. So it's not a vowel letter, but a vowel sound. The end of the article. So the end, because I'm moving from the E to the of end, I'm going to have a little gliding sound in there. It'll sound like the end. So that's what's called vowel to vowel linking. I'm moving from an E to an a front vowel to another vowel, the end. So it might help you to see that letter Y that connects those two, the end. And the end of these will link. I'll have end of. Of has the schwa and the v sounds. So often people mispronounce this word because they think it has an O or an A or a f sound. It's one of the most misleading spellings in English. It really should be spelled with a U and a V. So the end of the, or the end of the end of the article. Same thing as I'm linking from this the to this R. I have a little y sound in there. The R. And then for article, first syllable stress, article. This T is flapped. We have the I sound, article. And then a syllabic L at the end of the article. I reached the end of the article. He made his point at the end of the article. Yeah, okay, thank you. I wasn't clear that was your request from your statement. Thank you. Okay. We have a question, another question about through and throw. So THR, also a difficult combination. For these, I recommend using the, leaving the TH off at first and starting with the R sound. In this word, even though we can spell that, sometimes this sounds like an uff or an O, lots of different sounds, like in though, the same letter combination just says O. In through, it says the oo vowel. So we have the voiceless TH, the R, and the oo. I would maybe write this as through. To practice saying it, start with roo, pull your tongue back and do your R and your oo, roo. Then just sneak the tongue back forward for your TH, roo, through. And then for this one, we have the voiceless TH, the R, and the O diphthong. So thinking about, same thing, saying row, throw, row, throw. And then this one is though. I do have a video talking about thought, taught, throw, though, through, all of these different spellings, this THR and T words, tough, enough. So you can check that out on the channel as well if the spelling is making these words difficult for you. A couple of different reasons these are hard, both the spelling and the combination of the TH and R sounds. Thank you for that request. I'm sure that's helpful for other people as well. Okay, we have a question about the word, if the cat is not stressed, does the ah change to an eh? So if I'm saying the cat's out, or the cat is out, the cat's out. No, I still keep my ah vowel in cat. Because it's a content word. So even though it's not the stressed content word, I'm stressing here the cat's out, the cat's at the vet, the cat's at the, I won't have as much length on that ah, but it's not really going to sound like the cat's at the, it's not going to change to an eh or be more closed. That does happen on words like that, where it's not a content word, it's not important, that can move to more of an eh sound. I think that it will, versus I like that one. I think that. So ah does sometimes reduce a little bit to eh. I would say it probably doesn't happen on the word cat though, because we still, content words, even when they're not stressed, are usually not going to lose their clear vowels, because they're still going to have a little bit more length than a structure word like that or an. Thank you. That's a good point and a good question. And I've talked more about that in a few of my other videos as well. Okay. Nice to see so many of you here this morning. Welcome, everyone. We did start a little early today. Next week, we'll be back on our usual schedule. We've just had a couple of Saturdays with a little bit of a different schedule. We have a question about the word omit. So I think you may have left a comment about this, about whether or not that we're not saying omit. We don't have a long, clear O here. The stress in omit is on the mit syllable. You'll probably still see it written with the O diphthong in the first syllable, but I don't want a long, clear O there. I don't want omit. I don't want it equal, and I don't want it stressed on the O. In Merriam-Webster, they show another option as omit with more of a schwa here. What I would say is I think of it as being an O, but not a long diphthong O, more of a omit. So I'm doing somewhere, if I look at the vowel quadrangle, I have our O is typically gliding and closing. O, it starts really rounded and then it closes. And so if I was saying, just the word like go, O, I'm going to use a lot of length there and that closure. I probably don't say that just really super reduced omit. You may hear that in some places. I probably do something more like in this area, omit, omit, omit. So a little bit of rounding. We need to, it was omitted, it was omitted, it was omitted. So there is some rounding, there is some O, but there's not a long diphthong there, not omitted, but we omitted, oh. So hopefully that helps you. You know, it's a little bit, vowel sounds are a little bit vague. There's a space where that can happen, and it's just different depending on the context. So O is usually long and needs to be a diphthong. This is an example where in omit, omission, etc., where that O is unstressed in the first syllable, it's going to lose some of that clarity and it's going to lose some of that diphthong quality. Hopefully I said omit enough times for you and in enough context to help you with that subtle detail of that question. Thank you for being here today and for repeating your question. Okay, we have a question about in the word complementary, whether or not we can drop the T in the NT cluster. So for complementary, so typically with NT clusters, we either drop it entirely like internet, international, or if we use the T, we use a true T. So complementary. So yes, we can drop it, which would sound like complementary. Or we need to keep it, in which case we'd have complementary. We also, I think sometimes rather than saying complementary, we might just go complementary with losing a syllable there, in which case we would keep the T, because we wouldn't do complementary. I like kind of either tree or menary in terms of what I most typically will hear for that word. Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. And then you also asked about in the word equator, whether it's a flap T, and it is. Usually in words with T-E-R, T-O-R at the end, they follow that pattern where we flap those because that they're between two vowels and they're followed by an unstressed syllable. So we would have equator at the equator. Yeah, good questions. Thank you. It can be tricky to know about those T's and NT's. I go through pretty much as many scenarios as possible in my Sounds of English course, telling you about T's in the middle and the ends of words and how the different ways we pronounce them depending on the context. There are always a few exceptions to those patterns and rules, so it's good to check individual words. And that's something that can be difficult to check in the dictionary because it won't always show that flap symbol for the T. Certain dictionaries do show it, and also using online dictionaries, you can listen to the recordings of the word and listen for the American speech and whether they say equator or equator. And that's usually a fairly reliable source of information about those types of questions. Okay, thank you for that question. Very good. We have a question about the phrase wait and see. And the question is, do we do a glottal T, wait and see, or wait and see, which sounds more natural? So for, okay, no, separate question. Sorry, I'm reading your comment and you have two questions there. So two ways we can do this. You're correct. I can either do wait with an unreleased T, wait, and my and becomes just a syllabic N here, wait and see. We'll need to wait and see. I think this is a more common one. The other option would be to link here and do wait and see. wait and see. With a little bit more of a vowel there. We'll need to wait and see. Actually, that sounds natural to me too, as well. Excuse me. So I think they both sound okay. You can listen to how I say them and see which one sounds more natural. We need to wait and see. We need to wait and see. I think I probably gravitate to this one myself, but wait and see sounds fine to me as well. It follows the typical rule of, it kind of depends on if I'm doing a syllabic N here, then I'm more likely to do the stop T. If I'm doing more of an N instead of just N, wait and see, or wait and see. Yeah, that's a great phrase. Thank you for pointing that out. That would make a good video to cover that particular phrase and those details and those options. Okay, great. And then for is it more natural with a SH sound or a Z? I would definitely use a Z here. Is your friend coming? If I use an SH, is sure, I think it would sound incorrect. Is your friend? We really don't want that voiceless sound. Is your. We could potentially use the voiced zh sound. Is your friend coming? Is your friend? Or is your friend? I think the one with the Z sounds the most crisp and accurate. You will probably sometimes hear is your, because the y of your together with the z is similar to this. So both are okay. Is your friend or is your friend? You just don't want the sh sound, the voiceless sh, because that would stand out as being devoiced. So either is your friend, kind of depends on whether or not you do that rounding. Another good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Great details. Okay. Thank you so much for joining as a channel member. It's really great to have your support, and I appreciate that. You can learn more about channel membership if you're not already a member. Going on our channel page, you can click on join and see what kind of member benefits you can get from becoming a member and supporting the channel. Thank you. Okay, we had a question about word and world. Another example of WOR words. So we have word is the were plus D sound. So just the vowel, and world, think about that like were, old, world. Even though it's one syllable, it can be really helpful to break it down into two, world. Because the RLD is tricky. So these are two examples of letters OR saying the sound rather than the OR sound. I do have a number of videos on both of those words here on the channel as well, so you can get more details in those videos. Thank you. Okay, we have a question about articles. Difficult to remember when to use which. The simple answer for that, the rule is, as I mentioned, if we have the plus a vowel sound, the air, the egg, the airport, the end, then we use the E, the. And when we have a consonant sound, a word starting with a consonant, we use the with the schwa. But I can get away with using the all of the time. So I could say the air, the egg. People do use that. I think I tend to use the more consistently than saying the end. I can say the end of, the end. I can't use the all of the time. If I say the plane, the desk, it'll sound unusual. We just use the for vowels, or if I'm saying like it's the best video I ever saw, the best. I use it when I'm stressing on the word the. So if I use the when I'm talking about a consonant, it's going to sound unusual, like I'm saying the word instead of the word. So the best thing to practice is using the, and even with this the, I'm almost doing no vowel at all. It's almost more like, if I think about it, like the, really short. The word, the video, the time, even with the air, I can still use that kind of just the sound with a very reduced vowel. That's what I suggest practicing. And it's okay to use the air, the end. That's correct. We use a mix, but you can always count on using the really short, reduced schwa. It should make it easier to say this word in general, because if I have to take the time to say the with a long vowel, it's still going to sound a little bit awkward. It's not an easy word because TH is a difficult sound for a lot of people, but it's the most common word that we use. We use it every, I think, 20th word that we use is the. So it makes up a huge percentage of our speech, worth learning and practicing on. Articles often also get omitted in speech, and that's one of the things that can be a giveaway for an accent. Even if you have perfect pronunciation, if you're leaving out and the as you're speaking, people will hear that grammar difference. Okay, thank you for that follow-up. Okay. We have a question about the word old and whether the L is omitted. So the dark L, when it's before a D, if I'm saying something like old or cold, I might not do old. Like I might not have a really pronounced L. Old. I tend to use the dark L where I'm not lifting my tongue to close for the L, and I just have O. I use more of a schwa there, like O, old. I do have the L coloring though. If I just tried to leave it out entirely, old, it would sound off. So I wouldn't think of it as being omitted. Just try not to make a lot of, as you're connecting from the vowel to the L and from the L to the D, old. You don't want to do old. You don't want to L. You don't want much sound after the L, going directly from the L to the D. Old, hold, cold. You can practice just doing ol and then old to make sure that the L isn't dropping too much. So yeah, it's hard to hear it. It's not strongly pronounced, but it is still there. I do have a number of videos talking about words like cold, hold, and old because they're difficult for people, and breaking down kind of what you're doing with those dark L's in those words. Thank you for that question. Okay. We have a question about whether loan and loan sound the same. So yes, for the letters OA and an O plus an E, both of these follow the rule of double letters for O will say the O diphthong. So an E at the end will make the letter say its name. Also, words with two vowels together have spelling patterns and rules. OA, like in road or loan, is going to sound like O. So same thing. I have these words. I also have another example of this, road. The road that he rode his bike on. Same pronunciation. Yeah, correct. And then you were also asking about here's and here's. So here's your shoe. He hears the train coming. Same pronunciation as well. And these have the same pattern of two vowels, EA, saying ear, and the E plus E makes this also an ear sound. Yeah, good examples. Thank you. Okay. We have a question about earth and health. So even though here, EAR says the ear vowel, in earth, it says the sound. You'll see it as earth. So I would just rewrite that with ER, thinking of that as we were on earth. And then you also were asking about health. In health, EA, even though in heal, it follows the rule of the EA saying the E, heal sounds the same as heal. In health, it changes like it does in wealth to the vowel. So health has the red tent vowel. I would think about it like health. I need to heal my health. We need the health of the earth to improve. Okay, so always exceptions to our spelling patterns and rules. I do have some videos and some materials in my courses about spelling and sounds, what percentage of the time these spelling guidelines and rules work, and then you always need to learn the exceptions. That's why it can be very helpful to learn how to use a dictionary and to read the symbols, because if I see something like EA, I'm not going to know for sure what those letters are. A large percentage of the time, they're going to say the E vowel, like in read. But in some words like health or red, they're going to say the vowel, like in red. This red and this red sound the same, past tense of read. And then they can say ear with an R. There's lots of different combinations. And unfortunately, there's not a set rule that you can know what context it's going to say which in. There are patterns that you can learn, but if you're able to look up words in the dictionary, listen to the vowels, have ones to match them to. If I know that this sounds like green tea, and this sounds like red tent, I can start to become familiar with the most typical spelling of the vowel sound, how to pronounce it, and also watch out for what accent error patterns I might have on those sounds. So that's something that I cover in a lot of detail in my Sounds of English course, and also in my videos here on the channel, to give you that foundation to understand spelling and sounds, particularly when it comes to vowels, but of course I also cover all of the consonant sounds as well. That can be really helpful for breaking down the pronunciation of words, as well as looking at accent patterns you may have, what vowels or consonants you might be saying incorrectly throughout your speech in English because of how those vowels and consonants work in your language, or if they aren't in your native language. That tends to be where our accents come from and our pronunciation difficulties. Thank you for that question. Okay, we have a question about teeth and tooth. So for teeth, we have letters EE saying our E vowel. And for tooth, we have the letters OO saying the U vowel. So teeth and tooth. And then when it comes to toothache, this ache is kind of a strange spelling. We have the A diphthong, and then the CH says the K sound. So, and we have first syllable stress, toothache. The th comes a little bit more on the second syllable there. You can think about that as being like too fake, but first syllable stress. He had a toothache, his teeth were bothering him, or his tooth was bothering him. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Great to see so many of you here this morning, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll be having our special Sunday video. It's going to be a longer video talking about pronunciation of words ending with STS. So looking at the challenge of things like test and tests, last and lasts, looking at the details of pronouncing those, and then a long practice, listen and repeat practice that you can use. That's a video, and it's also available now on our podcast. So some of our newer podcast offerings are designed for you to be able to practice them just by listening on the go. You can find those here on YouTube, and also on Apple or Amazon, other places that you can find podcasts. Just search for speech modification, and you can take some of those practice lessons offline for listening and repeating. Thanks so much for being a part of class today and for all of your great questions. I'll have another live class next Saturday, back to our usual time, 9:15 West Coast in the US and 12:15 p.m. East Coast in the US. Leave your questions, comments on this video or other videos on the channel, and do check out those resources I mentioned on our website, speechmodification.com. You can get access to a lot of free and inexpensive materials to help build that strong foundation so you can pronounce any word you like confidently and easily in American English. Thanks so much for a wonderful class, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.